Hello everyone, this is Korith Landwalker, and this afternoon, it's time for some flying in Star Citizen. Looks like y'all caught me while I'm kind of eating lunch here. And you can tell that I've had a really rough night there because, I've got these bags under my eyes. Yeah, it's probably the lighting. Or maybe I flubbed making the character. You can do a pretty good amount of customization in the character creator. But since with every patch you kind of have to redo your character avatar, I don't really put a whole lot of work into mine. Especially since you can't actually save the choices you make. Plus, with 3.17, there's going to be some changes to the character creator anyway, so doesn't matter. Okay, a couple of announcements first. First, in a little under 2 weeks, I will be having my 2-year streaming anniversary. So, there's not going to be too much change in format or anything like that. Or will there? The drama continues. Secondly, a little bit more immediately, I will not be doing a Star Citizen stream next Saturday. For a lot of people, it is a holiday weekend. For me, it will be a working weekend. Therefore, I will not be streaming Star Citizen next Saturday. And I'll mention that again at the tail end of the stream, so pity the folks who come in during the stream and leave before the end, who will miss that announcement, and have missed this announcement. That's life in the fast lane. Let me just finish down this hot dog. Tasty. And we're going to get the helmet on because we're going to be needing the helmet today. Here we go. I am presently at the Galleria at Everest Harbor in orbit around the planet of Hurston. It was convenient for me. Let's see, is it upstairs or downstairs? We're still downstairs, good. Couldn't remember if my elevator was going to be available on the upstairs or the downstairs at the harbor here. It all blurs together after a while. And we're going to take the elevators to the hangar bay. As the stream title so deftly hints at, we're going to be doing some lightweight fighting today. More specifically, we're going to be using lightweight fighters, light fighters. It was a nice thematic transition from last week, where I spent my time flying the heavy fighters that I have available, which were the Ares Ion and the Vanguard Harbinger, and roughly 50% of those was actually pleasant to fly, and the other 50%, the less said the better. Star Citizen has a lot of light fighters. I don't have them all. I've got access to pretty much all of them, if I have the credits, but, well, let's take a look at my wallet here. I have slightly over 1 million credits here. It's actually less than I had last week because, well, I did some spending. And then I did some work on getting it back up again. So we have a couple of entertaining prospects to use today. Going to the handy vehicle retrieval terminal. The one that jumps out immediately is the Anvil Arrow. If you've been watching my streams for a lengthy period of time, you know that I'm a big fan of the Arrow. It's one of the top 3 fighters out there, light fighters. So that is certainly always worth a flight. However, because I fly that most frequently, it will also be the last one I fly today. Now, we also have the Aurora MR from RSI. It is technically listed as a light fighter, and even though I did a big challenge last year about it, we'll fly that again today to give it some kick. Now, we also have an unexpected entry, the Origin 125A. That's right, it's technically a light fighter. We're going to see why it's probably not the best light fighter choice out there. And finally, lastly, but not leastly, a fighter that I've never actually flown in a fight. It will be my first time on this stream. It is the Consolidated Outland Mustang Delta. You see, the Alpha is not technically a light fighter, it's light freight, but it's also a fighter. But Delta is explicitly listed as a light fighter, and we were going to be giving that one a spin today as well. But that's not going to be the first one we fly. We're going to fly the Aurora first, and we're going to take a look at its vital stats. Now, I do want to point out that when I say its vital stats, I am not talking about the big numbers. I am not a big number guy. You know who is? The folks over at Urkel. Linked conveniently right here. If you are interested in getting every scrap of power, of heat, of damage, DPS sustained, or DPS burst, if you want to know the nuts and bolts of every starship in the game, Urkel is the place to go. So, I, on the other hand, I'm going to be looking at things at a little higher level view, which is basically the basic loadout. And most of my ships tend to be basic stock loadouts. The Aurora MR is certainly one of the stock loadouts. So let's take a look at it. Pretty much everything it has are size 1s. And even though the shields are garbage, let's face it, it's a light fighter. The shields aren't going to help against most of the vessels in the game. Other light fighters, maybe. Maybe a couple medium fighters. But it's going to be relying on its speed and maneuverability. They're so screwed. Now, the vehicle weapons are the biggie here, because with vehicle weapons, you'll note we immediately have 2 empty slots. That's right. The Aurora MR, at stock configuration, has only 2 guns on it, but it's capable of running 2 more guns. Sadly, I don't really have... Well, you know what? We're going to stick with the stock layout, actually. Might as well put it to the test as is. Unfortunately, around the Hurston area, the only place you can buy guns is down on Lorville in the Hurston Dynamics building, and they will only sell dominance, scatterguns, and attrition laser repeaters. Now, that's not a horrible thing for a light fighter, but all the same, it's a trip I don't really feel like making. Well, think about it. So that's the ship we're going to start out here today. I see things have gotten a little exciting here at Everest. So let's pull out the Aurora MR. I kind of made a boo-boo. I discovered too late that I already had an MR in my hangar because of a loaner. Well, someone's going to be having a bad day in the near future. Pad 3. Oh, looks like he just zapped out. Ladies and gentlemen, Star Citizen. Either he managed to get out, or he logged, or who knows? Yes, I am going several kilometers. Hey, Captain Legend, how are you doing today? Lightweights, is this another beer episode? No, it is not. We are flying light fighters today. Hope the two of you are doing well today. Hopefully you have recovered from your adventures in the public test universe earlier today. Yeah, I feel I should probably mention that this is not PTU, everybody. This is still 3.16. I'm still in live. I figure PTU is crazy enough with the stability that we don't need to spend most of my stream on the loading screen. No, we're doing a light fight. I figured last week was the heavyweights with the heavy fighters, so this week we're doing light fighters. And I would like to take the moment here to mention that Cap and Legend are members of the Eternal Riders org, conveniently listed with both the RSI website site for the Eternal Riders and the Discord that is pretty much open to anybody who wants to drop by and say hello. And I did mention that there was a adventure from Legend earlier this morning. That's because he does his own Saturday morning stream. And of course I didn't do the right part here. I forgot the shout outs part. Why does my chat not recognize when I type something? It should know what I mean, not what I type. I know. So if you haven't already, feel free to stop by his stream channel and give it a follow. And if you're willing to get up early, watch him do his stream. He will stream in PTU. Now, because we are flying a light fighter on the... yes, you're welcome, Legend. And incidentally, for those who are also unaware, you may have guessed that if we're going by the title Eternal Riders, that's probably a good indicator that there might be a guy named Legend Eternal who's the boss of the Eternal Riders. So, go say hi to him, everybody. So, missions. Light fighter with stock loadout. We'll start out with the MRTs and work our way up. Also, always grab call to arms. Just in case I'm in a position where I can actually shoot these guys and do well with it. So, only doing a single target on this one because we're going to be going through a number of ships here and I want to make sure I have time to mess with them all. Plus, there's every possibility that I might decide to go down to Lorville and maybe grab a couple of attritions to throw on these things anyway. I am undecided. Now, if you do pledge for an Aurora MR to start playing the game, I do want to recommend that the earliest thing you buy in-game is another pair of guns. And if you're new, you'll probably also be interested in grabbing a couple of Verapuck turrets as well to give you some gimbling. I don't need them because I've been playing this game enough times that I've got a pretty good idea of where to aim at now. Plus, there have been a great deal of improvements in targeting over the years. But if you're just starting out, the gimbals might help. That said, some folks will tell you that they're just, conditioning you to use the gimbals all the time and they're not as good as fixed. And there's a certain amount of truth to that. Under most ships, if you use a gimbal, the guns you can fit on the gimbals are a size smaller. So you can either use, say, if you had a size 4 hardpoint, you could either have a size 4 gun, or you can have a size 4 gimbal, which has a size 3 gun attached to it. Okay, someone is being awfully rude around here. Why am I here? Okay, I'm not entirely sure what happened here. This was not where I planned to go. And I'm in a restricted area. And my orbital marker is blocked. Okay, that was just weird. For those who are unfamiliar with Star Citizen, which is a crazy thought, I know, but still, Star Citizen is still in an alpha state, which means weird things happen all the time. Honestly, if you can't handle bugs, this is really not the game for you. At least not yet. The day will come, but it's definitely not here yet. Alright, time to go 34 kilometers and inflict some pain on Mr. Carib. We're using size 1 lasers. That has good and bad points to it. Good, that I won't run out of ammo. Bad because, well, let's put it simple. They're size 1 lasers. You can only expect so much. Ooh, seeing some engine flare ahead. Looks like Gladiuses. And neither one of them are my targets. That could be a bad sign. Yeah, for some reason, Gladius engine glow is a little crazy right now. Probably a minor graphical bug. I'm sure they'll deal with it at some point. Besides, it's not like the Gladius is a stealth ship or anything. And there we are. Gladius. Buccaneer. Oh, okay, he has to die. Suffer not a Drake ship to live. There's an awful lot of ships out here, isn't there? This could be a lot rougher than I thought.
Here you go.
Oh no, I'm not taking that shot. You guys can just... I can't really afford to ignore these guys, but at the same time, I can't afford to spend my time shooting those Gladiuses, because that Buccaneer has a lot of guns on it. It may be garbage, but it's well-armed garbage. Still, this is a decent test for the flight capability of the Aurora. Drake is holding up pretty good, but to be fair, again, I'm firing 2 size 1 lasers. You can only expect so much out of them.
Shields damaged.
Oh, shields damage. That's never a good thing to hear. And that takes care of that annoying Drake ship. Now let's see what else we've got to deal with. Avenger Stalker. Oh, that's actually a pretty interesting target. Can the Aurora make mincemeat out of a Stalker? Oh, no you don't. No escape for you. Light fighters are maneuverable, so they can usually keep up with the turning battles, so to speak. Now let's go up against the Gladius. When I spoke, the Arrow is one of the top 3 best light fighters in the game. The Gladius also fits in the top 3. There are a number of people who will swear to you that it's the top 1 period. And yet, it can still be taken out by an Aurora MR. Let's see if we can finish this guy, who is also flying a Gladius. Now, I should also point out that we are flying, this is against an AI ship. Which means, don't think it would be this simple in a PvP situation. The Aurora may not suck, but player versus player is a very different reality. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go down to Lorville after all, because you know what? I would like to demonstrate how much faster things go if you have another pair of guns. Or even a different quartet of guns. Because right now I'm using the Bulldog repeaters. They're good, but attrition repeaters are also pretty good. Now, attrition repeaters do have a little bit of an issue with range, but if you're in a light fighter, chances are you're going to try to go to close range whenever you can. We'll grab a, instead of artisan, let's try that again. We will grab a set of attritions, and then we'll see how that does. And after that, we'll do an HRT. So we'll go up against a little heavier opponents. I didn't want to do an HRT when you only have 2 guns available, because those guys will be doing better shielding, better armor, better weapon, better. And that's a little rough for an Aurora. It's not impossible. But it would be rough, especially considering the fact that Genius Me did not take care of medical respawn points. Gotta run to the next soccer game. Have a good rest of your stream, Korth. Hey, you enjoy the soccer game, Cap. Have fun. Tell them I'm rooting for them. Whoever they may be. So, Lorville. Incidentally, for those who didn't get a good look at it earlier, this is the Aurora MR design. And it really is the design of the Aurora, period. It's not exactly what you would call fancy. In fact, it's basically a flying brick. I mean, you could call those wings if you were being really generous, or if you were really drunk. But come on. Those aren't wings. You're flying a box. But then again, that's why it's one of the very least expensive starships in the game. Both as far as real-life pledging or in-game purchasing. Aurora has 4 variants, of which this is one. Feel free to check out the RSI website to find out which one might suit your needs. But I do feel compelled to mention that the Aurora MR is the starting one of the starting packages. So odds are, of all the Auroras, this is the one you're most likely to step into at some point. Alright, let's grab ourselves the docking bay. Drop down a bit. Oh yeah, I should probably slow down too. I'd hate to have what we would commonly refer to as an accident. Alright, here we are. That's just... oops. Took that a little too quick. Did I say something about being a box? It maneuvers like a box too. Especially if you happen to be in the atmosphere. So, beware. Be aware. Okay, I'm low enough to activate the auto land. We'll make it a nice, neat landing. Nice, neat, long landing. There we go. We'll kill the engines and step outside.
Landing complete. Have a pleasant stay.
We will not be turning off the power. I almost never turn off the power except under unusual circumstances. Engines, though, there was a time not so horribly long ago where if you left the engines on, you eventually got a parking fine for it. I don't know if that's still a thing or not, because I haven't done it for an age. Now, Hurston does not sell a whole lot in the way of weapons. It used to be that they didn't sell any personal weaponry at all, but somewhere along the line they managed to get a couple things in there, and I expect that will probably change again when the next patch rolls around, because they're doing some serious store changes. More on that when the time comes. Store? Stored. Okay, off to Metro Center. No, Central Business District. Must get the locations straight. The one type of weapons they've always had are the ship weapons, the dominance and the attritions, and that's because Hurston Dynamics actually manufactures those. That's because Hurston Dynamics got on its road to success where it could earn enough money to buy its own planet by selling guns. The guns you throw on starships. That is a lot. So we're going to see the monument to Hurston's ego. You probably noticed it when we were coming in. That really huge building. That's the Hurston Dynamics building. It's big enough to be seen from Everest Harbor. That's right. You can see the building from space. Granted, it's a fairly low orbit, but it still counts. Now, sadly, it is a bit of a trip to get to the Hurston Dynamics building. It's over a minute to take this train to the Hurston Dynamics building, and it is actually not the longest trip on Lorville. Somewhere along the line, go ahead and take the perimeter trains that will go all around the walls of Lorville. Now that is a long train ride. Of course, those particular trains occasionally bug out and weird things happen. I know, weird things happening in Star Citizen? That's inconceivable.
Now arriving Central Station. Please watch your step with
Central Station. So there we go. We've got some huge, huge statues here. You would think they'd be made of gold, but I've seen the price of gold in this game. It's not nearly as impressive as it sounds. I prefer to think that they've made this out of laranite, which is substantially more valuable. Or certainly it seems that way from every time I've done a trade run. Now, ordinarily when I'm going into this building, I'm hanging a left to go into the trade area. But we're going to go to the showroom, where they sell these babies off. The scatterguns. And, if I can get my angle right, the attritions. And it's the attritions I want, because, well, you know what, I could do scatterguns. But I'm not. I don't know if they sell Veripuck turrets here. So we'll take a peek, just in case. If they do, I'll grab a couple of those too, just to keep things consistent on the ship. But I will not lose sleep. I'm not going to lose sleep, but they don't have any turrets. But they do have the attritions, so we're going to buy 4 of them. And you can see they're very well priced. I mean, it's only going to cost me 15,000. That may sound like a decent amount of money, but trust me, it's pocket change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my vehicle manager now, pull up the Aurora again, go to vehicle weapons. I'm going to yank out the gimbal mounts because honestly, I don't need the gimbal mounts. And we're going to put in all 4 of those attrition repeaters. Now we're going to go back to the spaceport, and we're going to see what a difference those 2 extra guns will make. So it's off to the trains. I can't really call them subways because they don't actually go underground. I mean, the closest they get to underground is, you know, it's like I keep running into something around here. I feel like there's an invisible something here that if you run across it, it knocks you a little off course. Yeah, see how it happens? I kind of drifted left, but there's nothing here. So there's something that's off of the collision at Lorville, or at least at the central business district here. And since I was screwing around with that, I've missed the train. Oh well, it's not like I pay for train tickets. They're very enlightened here at Lorville. You don't pay a dime to use their public transportation. Of course, I'm not convinced they pay their workers anyway, so... Yeah, that train arriving thing, sometimes that's a little off too.
Stand by and let passengers disembark before boarding.
So we're going to onboard here, and I hit something else again. It's like I'm having some collision somewhere that's invisible. Well, it's an alpha.
Stand by and let passengers disembark.
Eventually it'll be corrected,
Next stop,
but
Pizza
as far as bugs go, that's a fairly low priority kind of one. I'm figuring sometime in beta. Although you never know. After all, they're going to be doing a big Lorville revamp sometime this year. I'm not entirely sure what it will mean, except it will probably be murder on the frame rate. I am such a cynic. Hey, maybe they'll even make it big enough to do the expo in next year. I don't know if they've ever actually done the Interstellar Aerospace Expo here. I know they've done it at ArcCore. I know they've done it at Microtech, but I don't know if they've ever done it at Lorville. I know they've never done it at Orison. I've heard rumors that the Invictus launch week will be at Orison, but that's still an unknown.
now arriving. Pizza Spaceport. Please watch your step when disembarking the
I think
train.
Orison would be a great place for that sort of thing, though. Yeah, for no other reason than to force everybody into actually landing at Orison and taking off at Orison. Because I'm evil. Hey, I don't mind flying and taking off and landing at Orison, but I know a lot of people who would rather gouge their eyes out than have to deal with it. So naturally, anything that gets them to have to do that kind of amuses me. I will admit that I am occasionally easily amused. Alright. Let's ink out that Aurora again. And we're going to go see just how entertaining 4 guns will be over 2. I mean, I have very literally doubled my firepower. Nice thing about Lorville, the elevator from the spaceport to the ship, much faster than at Everest. Everest takes a while because you have to literally go kilometers. Here, not nearly as far. Of course, that said, you do have to do a lot of train travel, but, you know, there's a balance. Nothing is free. There we go. Just had to turn the weapons on and off to get them recognized. Sometimes there's a little bit of a bug involving new modules onto a ship. I think this is bad. The quantum driver placement, you have to go into the power triangle, well, the power screen, go into items and naturally power everything on there. At least with weapons, all I gotta do is just turn the weapons on and off. That can be done off of a keystroke. So up we go. And out. We'll crank our engine speed a little bit. A very little bit. And while we're on the rise, let's grab another medium risk threat. And this is going to be over at the moon of Magda. Maybe. Okay, it didn't seem to work quite right. Okay, Hurston. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Star Citizen. Let's hope that they're on the good side of Hurston and not the bad side of Hurston. And my definition of good side is daylight side. Bad news. This is not looking like daylight side. That's going to make the fight a lot uglier than I want it to be. But you know, you go where the targets are. They are not here to be convenient kills for you. They are here to try to kill you because they don't want to die and they don't want you to get paid. One of us will be right. One of us substantially less so. And as I thought, we're on the dark side. Oh well. Maybe I'll be lucky and most of my targets will crash into the ground. That is not something I'm expecting. Okay, I am a little less than 10 kilometers up. I am 22 kilometers out. And it looks like my target is going to be a Gladius because even 21 kilometers out, I can see the engine glow. I mean, for pity's sake, they've really got to do something about the luminosity on that thing. One more thing we're going to do before we get too far, I hope. Go to my weapons. And put them all in the same weapon group. And target status. Alright, targets acquired. Let's see who we got there. Mustang Delta. Avenger Stalker. Aurora LN and a Gladius Valiant. We have a wide variety of targets available here. Let me just add a decoy. I like to shoot off 2 decoys when missiles go my way. Primarily because I don't want to get killed. Oh, and there's another target too, which I have not yet identified. 3 kilometers up. This is going to be a little challenging. This is going to be a fight, folks. That's for sure. But how much of a fight? That still remains to be seen.
Here you go.
Okay, the first pass went through kind of poorly. Maneuverability is a little dicey here because I'm in atmosphere, and being in atmosphere means it's a little more challenging. I did mention that I'm flying a brick, right? And I am getting hit like crazy. I might have to start engaging some of these other guys first. Oh, cripes, we're going to crash. Oh, good, we didn't crash into him. I was certain we were going to crash into this guy. Okay, you know what? Targets of opportunity are targets of opportunity. Oh! Well, targets of opportunity just became a moot point, didn't it? I might have hit the ground. I'm not entirely sure. It looks like I was close enough to the ground. I'm not entirely sure where my hospital is. It might be Grimhex. Really would have preferred a fight that, you know, I could actually see the ground. Not in atmosphere, but you go to where the bounties are. Okay, I'm not 100% sure. Okay, yeah, this environment does have that distinctly Grimhex looking look to it, doesn't it? Ditch the gown. Keep undersuit, keep helmet. And since we're here, you know what? I might as well bring those light fighters here and skip Hurston entirely. If nothing else, I can guarantee that I won't have to worry about heavy atmosphere anymore. So, let's see. I have an anvil arrow here already, so I shouldn't have a problem with that. The Mustang we'll have to bring over here. That'll be a colossal 51 seconds. So 125 Alpha. Ooh, a minute 15 for that. And finally, the Aurora that just blew up. 41 seconds. So inside of a minute, all the ships I plan to be flying today are here. Now the bad news is I still have that particular bounty sitting out there, but I don't really feel like going after them. Weston Epps is now my preferred target. Grimhex, bring it on out! Could have been worse. I could have wound up in Orison. I don't really have an emotional problem with Orison, but it does tend to take a lot of time out of a stream to get from Orison into fighting combat locations. Better by far to have the ships readily available in a place like this. Now, 3.17 is going to get a little more complicated because right now, in 3.16, the starships and your inventory are shared between the space station and the planet. So, Orison and Port Olisar are linked. Lorville and Everest Harbor are linked. New Babbage and Port Tressler are linked. And Area 18 and Bygenie Point are linked. Which is great. It ain't going to stay that way. In 3.17, all inventories will be separated out. That means if you have something on Orison, it will not be available at Port Olisar. And so on and so forth. Not to mention that the Lorville Hospital will be put into play, so that means you won't have the free ride to the space station when you get killed off at Lorville, or Hurston area, because you'll be spawning in at the hospital at Lorville, as opposed to Everest Harbor. So a lot of folks who have gotten very comfortable with the way of things are going to be made distinctly uncomfortable in the alarmingly near future. Well, if there's one constant in Star Citizen, it is change. And lots of it. Alright, without further ado, let's see if we have any better luck with Weston there on Daymar. That's the great thing about light fighters. They have a very short time when it comes to what's the phrase I'm looking for? When it comes to claiming them for insurance. If I were a heavy fighter, it could be like 10 minutes. Unless I expedite, of course. Larger ships, even longer, but light fighters? Well, they're exactly what it says on the tin. Light fighters. That also means they tend to be disposable, cheap and easy to replace. Really, it's almost not even worth having an LTI for a light fighter, the lifetime insurance. Because they will blow up with alarming bases, but they should not cost horrible amounts of money to replace. In theory. Okay, we are 21 kilometers out. The good news is we're kind of on the light side. I don't know if that's a... Well, let's see. Nuts, that's sunset, not sunrise. You can see up here my compass, I'm facing southwest. Well, actually it's west-southwest, I guess. Either way, it means that I have a problem. Why do I not have this set for my target stats? Probably because I'm a very forgetful human being. And he's flying a Drake Cutlass Black. Well, this will be a pleasure, won't it? As longtime viewers are aware, me and Drake Interplanetary have a relationship. The relationship is I hate them and they hate me. That's not really exaggeration. And he's got a friend. He's got a couple friends. But those couple friends, he's got a number of friends. He's got a lot of friends. So I guess he'd need them flying a Cutlass. Okay, having a little trouble maneuvering. Bloody Atmo. Oh, no. Let's get a little more control here. I got something with your name on it too. Just I can't really deal with it right now because I have a higher priority. We'll pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up. I'm not entirely sure how close I am to the ground, except for the answer of too close. And there goes that annoying Cutlass Black. And just like that, my day is immeasurably improved. Now keep in mind, Cutlass is a medium-sized starship. So it takes a little bit of a hammering to take down. I can't believe that Aurora there survived that little bit of ammo. Then again, I don't know why I'm surprised. I mean, I'm surviving the hits. Oh, he's as maneuverable as I am. Yeah! Let's go after this guy. He's further away, but on the other hand, he's further away. More importantly, he was above me, which meant less chance of crashing into the ground on that engagement. Last one is an M50 Interceptor, which means it's fast, maneuverable, but it is perhaps not the most durable starship out there. Case in point. So we've seen how well it does against a medium risk threat. Can we crank it up a notch against a high risk threat? Let's find out. Again, keep in mind that we are locked and loaded on... Oh, nuts, and he's in the middle of nowhere. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Don't tell me obstructed. Sometimes I don't understand how this thing figures something is obstructed or not. I'm gonna put a little more altitude here. There we go. I don't know why that is the way it is. And then there's a lot of things I don't know why it is the way it is, so. There are a lot of people on chat, in-game chat, who are apparently credulously believing that we could be seeing the new patch hit live by Friday-ish or so. And I think that perhaps they might be fooling themselves. I mean, I was watching Legend stream this morning, or at least a portion of it, and it did not look... It looked more stable than it's been, but it looks like it still has quite a ways to go. Okay, bad news number 1. Night side of the moon. Bad news number 2. They're still 172 kilometers away. And I am not seeing an orbital marker that is going to get me closer. So we are going to have to do this the hard way. Now, taking a straight shot towards him is going to put me through the moon. Literally. I mean, I'm less than 5 kilometers up. He's 100-some kilometers ahead of me. I will plow through the moon. So when you're doing something like this, think about it. Stay above the... Have your pitch above 0. Now the good news is this is a moon with not much in the way of any real atmosphere, And that means we can crank this up to a significant velocity. Significant. That said, he's 100-some kilometers away, which means it's still going to take a couple minutes to get there. Let's lower a little bit, not too much. Yeah, best case scenario, 3 minutes out, perhaps. I'm accounting for the fact that I'm probably going to need to slow down at some point. It's also good to pay attention to that altimeter, because that tells me how high up I am, and the fact that that number is going down is not necessarily what I want, although I am kind of at the right angle where I should miss the ground, so to speak, and keep going forward. The key word here, of course, is should. We are a little above 90 kilometers and closing. Unfortunately, my velocity is also dropping. I'm down to a little under 650 meters a second, which means I want to give myself a little more height. Oh man, I'm dropping like a rock. Let's accelerate a bit. May have gotten myself a little too low. At this rate, it might be a couple more minutes after my couple more minutes. It is a nice view of the ring of yellow there. You can actually fly in that ring. In fact, the station of Grim Hex is stationed in the ring of yellow. So you can see all the rocks that make up that ring. Maybe not so much of the dust, but definitely the rocks. Okay, we are moving a lot better now. We're above, well, we were above a kilometer a second. .40 kilometers and closing fast. I think very soon I don't know why I have the quantum drive still rolling there. Bad habit, I guess. And we're 15 kilometers up, which means we are probably higher than I want to be. I'm going to turn on my spotlights. Hopefully that'll help give me an indicator as to, whoops. Well, those will give me a pretty good indicator of where the ground is too. Vanguard Warden. That is going to be a rough ship to fight. That's a heavy fighter. Sister class to the Harbinger I flew last week.
Got something for you.
Yes, you do. And I have something for you. They're called countermeasures. Unfortunately, they've got something for me too, and it's called a lot of guns. Let's see if my guns will do any better. So far, so good. I'm still alive. And that's right, folks. Vanguard Warden taken out by an Aurora MR. More of that story? Just because it's a light fighter against a heavy fighter, don't assume the battle is preordained. At least not in PvE. Again, PvP is a different animal entirely. But even then, the quality of the pilot will matter just as much as the equipment that he's using. Well, he or she. I mean, after all, there's nothing that says the ladies can't be as lethal as the guys. I believe there's some proverbs on that too, but I'll leave that for others. There goes the Drake garbage. And that leaves, ooh, more Drake garbage. Sometimes life is too good to me. Ooh. That's going to be a little careful there, a little close to me. But you can see that we're definitely doing a lot of damage to them very quickly with all 4 guns. Moral of the story, whenever you can, get the extra 2 guns on your ship. They will make a big difference in your Aurora MR performance. And if you can do HRTs, then you are well on your way to making enough bank to get a better ship. Alright, we're going to go back to Grim Hex now, and we're going to swap out to another light fighter, because we spent a lot of time on the Aurora MR to start establishing things. And now, it's time to fly another one. So first we're going to hop over to Orbital Marker 1. I think I've seen about enough of the chat as I want to today. The in-game chat, I should say. Obviously, feel free to say hello if you happen to be watching the stream now. And we'll just fly to the big asteroid. And I see we are not alone. Can I scan it? Sometimes I end up scanning the base and not the ship, and yeah, it's happening now. You can't really do a good scan if they're in the docking bays, or if they're on the landing pad for that matter. It's disappointing, but it is what it is. Yes, it's always good to hear the folks at Grimhex opening communications and probably someone being stabbed to death in the middle of it. I may or may not have mentioned it today. I know I've mentioned it in the past, though, that Grimhex is a hive of scum and villainy. This is not where good people come to spend their time. Unless you're on the run from something, of course. But if you're on the run from something, then how good can you be? I'll leave those moral judgments to others. In the meantime, I'm going to try to get myself between these rocks. There we go. And spun around properly. I'm still upside down. Drop landing gear and head into the bay. I forgot I had my spotlights on. And we are down. Well, how pleasant a stay can you have at Grim Hex? I mean, it's not the kind of place you want to go, especially if you're in the hospital. Did you see the hospital I spawned in at? Did that scream sanitary to anybody? I don't think so. And you see those pools of liquid? Spoiler alert. That's not water. I'll say no more. Let's all go to the lobby. It's just coolant. Hey, Fiendy, how are you doing this afternoon? Hope things are going well on your side of the monitor there. We are flying light fighters today. Last week we flew around in the heavy fighters. We're giving the light fighters their due this week. We've just finished a little bit of flying in the Aurora MR, and now we're going to look at a second light fighter. Specifically, as I bring up my vehicle manager, the Origin 125 Alpha. Again, all of its equipment is size 1, so light fighter, gotta expect it. The weaponry, well, on the face of it, it doesn't look horribly impressive. It just has 2 guns. But unlike the Aurora, it has more missiles. ship is sporting cannons, so they're slower firing, and more importantly, they're size 2 as opposed to size 1, which means they will hit harder. Now, Origin is best known for being a luxury ship kind of manufacturer. So the question becomes, were they able to apply their reputation for excellence to fighting ships? Let's find out. Hangar 2, Hangar 2, Hangar 2. There we are. See, I can count. Luxury fighting. Well, you know, there's only so much luxury you can do in a small fighter. But, you know, this is Origin we're talking about, so expect it. Let's take a look at the inside for a moment. Unlike most fighters, it is not all cockpit. You've got a small bed to sleep in. Component access to the back. Got a great view here. I should probably close the door. And into the pilot seat. As far as starting fighters go, there are worse choices to make. At least as far as general design goes. I thought I'd closed that door. So there it is, the 125 Alpha. 125A technically, but you know, military alphabet sticks with me. A bed in a fighter? Luxury! Hey, this means that you can naturally, you know, fly to a location, do some fighting, and then not have to go to a space station where all his friends might be waiting to beat you up in. You can go to some remote corner of space and just rest and relax. That said, I didn't see a whole lot in the way of provisions in here, so you can only hope for so much. We will grab again a medium risk target to give it the initial test out, and then depending on how quickly it goes, we'll try a high risk target and see how that works out. We'll open up the comm link and ask them to kindly open the door.
You are clear to launch.
Ah, Grimhex. Only you would have a set of hangars that open up right facing an asteroid. I'm beginning to see why Grimhex was abandoned early on. Okay, let's target our destination. And it is... oh, it's here. Yellow somewhere. In fact, it seems... okay, it's right here. For a horrible moment there, I thought it was actually... why can I not target that? There we go. Star map is one of those things that people keep saying need to be improved. They may be right. Now the good news is this will be all space, no atmospheric combat. Alpha, yes indeed. The mantra, it's an alpha, it's an alpha. This will help keep you maybe not sane, but less insane. So let's check out the weapons. Not a bad rate of fire, all things considered. I'm going to put more of my power into my weapons again, though. Good. Because on a light fighter, shields... you want luxury? Shields are a luxury. They're size 1 shield, so you really can't expect a lot out of them. Okay, let's increase our speed a bit. No need to take our time. Missiles. We have size 2 missiles. There are 6 of them. We'll only arm 2 at a time for this. I'll plan to use them on this mission because I expect to need them on the high-risk threat. Who do we got? Cutlass Black. Cutlass Black. It's like it's my birthday. If there's one thing that I enjoy more than anything else, it's exploding Drake starships. Cutlasses are just the most well-known brand. I should probably add an extra countermeasure to my decoys. And closing fast. Fast. I better make sure I don't whack myself into any asteroids. Oh, there's the first missile. And let's start opening fire on the Cutty Black. Drake Interplanetary and I have a long-standing history of antagonism, so blowing up their ships always puts a smile to my face. That said, I'm flying a little too close to this guy. I mean, I'm all for close combat in a light fighter, but when I'm close enough to have him scrape me off of his windshield, that's probably too close. Oh, nuts. Yep, I just bugged out. I just lost the targeting marker on this guy. That's going to make fighting this guy a lot more difficult than it needs to be. Because I'm eyeballing it now. Okay, you know what? I'm going to kill his buddies, and then we're going to warp out of here and come back where it'll hopefully reset that. Because I'd feel better if his friends were no longer among the living. I'm doing a good job on taking down the shields, but I am not cutting him apart nearly as quickly as I was in the Aurora. Certainly not as fast as the Aurora with all 4 guns active. Not to mention, I am occasionally getting a little bit of desync, but not horribly. I'm through his shields, I'm hitting hull. It's only a matter of time before... the sweet, sweet sound of destruction. Another Drake ship, the Buccaneer. Man, what did I do for Christmas? It's like the game has decided to give me everything I wanted to blow up. Nothing but Drake ships. The only thing that would make it complete is if there was a Drake Caterpillar or Herald involved too. Of course, Heralds are basically useless right now, and the Caterpillar is a freighter, so you can only ask for so much.
Got a surprise for ya!
No, we're not taking missile impacts. I'm in a light fighter. Missile impacts would be instant death. Decoy them, outmaneuver them, do anything you can, do not get hit with them. Let's see, another target found. I thought it was another target found. Nope. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop over to that orbital marker over there, and then I'm going to hop back here. Drake explosions! Yes! Okay, we have bapped ourselves away, and now we're going to bap ourselves back. And hopefully I'll be able to get his targeting marker again. And then I can give him what I gave his buddies. Yeah, I am on record for saying that Drake designs garbage ships. I mean, if you look at these ships, if you go in their interiors, honestly, it's like looking at an unfinished basement. I mean, it's just, ugh. And the Cutlass Blacks, I don't want to say anything, but for a medium ship that has a couple bunks, the oversight of not having a restroom feels like a really big oversight. It would not surprise me if the folks who designed the Cutlass series were the same guys who designed Grim Hex. Okay, that's probably a little unkind. A little. But my feelings towards Drake Interplanetary is pretty consistent. I may not have a favorite manufacturer, but I certainly do have an unfavorite. And that would be Drake. And speaking of hurting Drake, let's see if we can make this ship go away. Get myself on that targeting reticle. Size 2 guns are making a difference. The guy's shields they're already gone. I mean, one would prefer to have a lot more guns, but Origin has not done a very bad job when it comes to making a ship that can do this. Ah, the sweet sound of Drake starships exploding. So, medium risk threats are very much in the wheelhouse of the Origin 125A. But can they do a high risk threat? Let's find out. And again, the high risk threats are where you start looking at larger amounts of money, because, I mean, this one guy coming up here is worth 11,000 all by himself. That's when you start looking at making a decent amount of bank. And better yet, he's not very far from our current location. So what is my target flying? And who is out there helping him? Let's find out. Now, because this is a high-risk threat, I am much more likely to see if I can introduce a couple of my missiles to the targets as well. I mean, I've got 6 missiles on here. Why not make use of them? I didn't want to do it for the medium risk because, honestly, if a light fighter can't handle a medium risk threat, then it's not much of a light fighter. But high risk threats, yeah, that's kind of the gateway to the bigger boys. Because if you can do a high risk, then you can probably do a very high risk. And that's when you start coming into serious money. Vanguard Warden. So we are looking at a heavy fighter here. So I am going to load up a pair of my Strike Force 2 missiles. I am noting that I am 19 kilometers out. My maximum range is 10 kilometers. And we're going to not even talk about the fact that there are a heap of asteroids between me and him. Hence the reason I'm only using 2 missiles at a time here. He's got a buddy. A Cutlass Black, but he's not primary, so I'm more interested in primary. Now, I usually like to hold off on firing my missiles until we're substantially closer. And I don't like the fact that my missiles aren't actually locking, so I have a feeling I'll have to dumbfire these things. Which makes me wonder why the heck I'm even bothering with the missiles. Oh, there, ah! I had it! He vanished on my, all my targets have vanished. Okay, that was just cheap. Okay, fine. You want to play it that way? I'll play it that way. I mean, geez, I could understand one of them going away on me. Well, you know what they say? It's an alpha. You think you have managed to outwit me, but you are wrong. Do not let the fact that you are an alpha deceive you. I'm still going to blow you guys up. Alpha release intensifies. I prefer the classic saying, "This is just a setback." This is merely a setback. Yes, that's the proper phrasing. So we're going to close in on this guy again. 16 kilometers out. Again, 10 kilometers is maximum range, but I want to be closer, like, I don't know, maybe closer to 5 or 6 kilometers before I start chucking missiles. Because I would like for there to be a decent chance of the missile hitting. I still don't have what you would call a great... I'll have to dumbfire these things. Yeah, they missed. They don't... I guess these kind... There's some missiles that aren't doing a very good job on target locking these days. And I guess this ship is carrying some of them, which is depressing, but, you know, life is filled with tragedy. It is how we choose to overcome them that states our quality. So I have taken out this guy's shields, which is not bad. And I'm getting some hits on him, which is even better. And I am loads more maneuverable than a heavy fighter, as I can attest from having been on the opposite side of that kind of fight last week. In fact, it's enough that I'm getting a little too close to the guy. And there goes primary. Now his friend was flying a Cutlass Black, so... Whoa! And it looks like he kind of clipped me on that one. Oh, actually he got two friends. He's got a Buccaneer as well. More Drake. I can respect the Vanguards. They're made by Aegis. They're military hardware design. But Drake is just garbage. That said, this guy's a fairly durable piece of garbage. If I could get a decent missile lock on these guys, I'd shoot some missiles at them. I'm pretty sure I can get myself a 1 kilometer separation if I needed to. But without the target locks working, trying to fire missiles at smaller targets is just not going to happen. I could see myself dumbfiring a large ship like a Hammerhead or a Carrack or an 890. Although this would hardly be the ship I would choose to fight those guys. I'm not getting very far with this guy. I've taken down his shields, but I'm not getting what you would call a lot of hits on the ship itself. Okay, that one let land some hits. Problem is, I'm being a little bit tricky on my maneuvering there, and it's getting a little close to getting me colliding with them. And that would be bad, and he's regenerating his shields, which I do not want to see.
Got something for you.
Okay, I seem to have gotten past the missile problems. Ah, his shields have completely regenerated now. Curse him! Curse him! Okay, his shields are gone now again, so let's see if I can keep adding to the abuse. Honestly, if I were... His shields are back. Hate you. I would take care of that Cutlass Black flying around if it weren't for the fact that, well, the Buccaneer has a whole bunch of guns. And if it manages to land some good shots, that could make things inconvenient very quickly. It's times like this that make me wish I were using ballistic ammo. Ballistic ammo would hurt the guy a lot more, but I'd also likely run out of ammo, and that would be inconvenient for a prolonged fight. come on, let's get some... I'm definitely damaging him. If you look on my lower right, you'll see that there's a target display, and there's an awful lot of red on his ship there, which gives me hope that perhaps his end is nigh. Is he flying away? He's flying away. Alright, wise guy, you want to fly? You want to do that? Yeah, I didn't really think those guys were going to hit. But I figured if I rattled him a bit, maybe good things would happen. So even though I'm using the size 2 guns, he is doing a pretty good job on tanking them. He's obviously using better equipment than some of the other Buccaneers I've been flying against today. Of course, being a high-risk target, well, an associate of a high-risk target. There we go. Bits and pieces. Ugh, that was rougher than it had to be. Next stop, Cutlass Black. Let's see if we can mow him down any faster. I mean, I should be able to because I've done it on the previous MRTs. But he may be using better equipment than the MRTs. I mean, just because they're in the same ship, that doesn't necessarily mean they have the same shields, the same guns. I suspect that there is enough room for customization on these guys as there are for your own ships. Good news, though, is that for all the improvements he can make, he is still flying a Drake ship. And that automatically puts him at a significant disadvantage. He's already nice and red. I do not believe it will be long before we are graced with a look of another explosion. And hopefully, the other explosion will be him, not me. Although that came a little too close for comfort. Christ. Maybe I better be a little more cautious of the flybys. Ooh, language. They only start mouthing off when they're getting ready to die. Bye-bye, hostile eliminated. So, it does take some effort, but the 125 Alpha is also capable of dealing with high-risk targets. Might not be the best choice, but it does show that Origin can indeed put together a light fighter that can rumble with the best of them. Next up, the special occasion, the special starship. A starship that I have not yet flown. And believe me, I have flown plenty of the Star Citizen starships. But for some reason, I have never really gotten around to flying the next one very often. And I'm rather looking forward to seeing how it does, because it also includes certain mechanics that I have not really dealt with before either. So, we have some intriguing possibilities ahead. If I don't, crash this ship. Not that it matters, since, I'd respawn in Grim Hex anyway, because that's where my medical bed is. Okay, got my landing destination. So we'll just fly ourselves around looks like I'm upside down. There we go. Drop landing gear. Try not to crash. And we're back at Grim Hex. Yeah, there are no really other additional amenities aside from the bed there. I mean, you've got a couple doors to open here, but they're components. Although, actually no, this looks like it's a cargo grid, so I actually do have some cargo capacity in here. So I suppose I could use get a crate of beer to throw in the back. I realize that you generally don't associate beer and Origin ships together, but yeah, it looks like I got a little bit of damage here. A little bit of scoring on the side here. Didn't come out of that fight completely unscathed, did I? But it held together. Alright, time to go to the lobby. And store the Origin. And pull out one of the fighters from Consolidated Outland. I have flown several of the Mustang series of starships. What I have not flown is the Mustang Delta. Let's take a look at the vital statistics. As with most of the ships of its size, it's using size 1 components. Now for weaponry, it's got a pair of sized, let's see. Let's talk about size. Is that a turret? Size 2 guns, laser cannons, but here's the interesting part. It's also carrying Jericho missile racks. And I don't think they're actually missile racks exactly, as much as rocket pods. I have not really used a starship equipped with rocket pods. So this is going to be a new thing for me. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this performs. So let me pull the Mustang Delta out. And we'll take a look at it. Yeah, this is much more convenient than operating out of Hurston. Okay, here's the ship. I don't think this back end opens up yet. It might be a component area. I'm not entirely sure. But there's the guns. And... oh, there's the rocket pods. Why is there another set of guns? Do I have more guns than I think I have? Maybe I do have more guns than I think I have. We'll take a look once I got the ship online.
Welcome. Your journey begins now.
And let me bring up the guns.
Operational.
Now I've got a cannon and a couple laser repeaters, so that'll be cool. And the rocket pods. Unfortunately, I'm not entirely sure about the size of the weapons, but it's going to be neat to try and find out, isn't it? Oh, right. Let's get the communications open and open up the hangar doors. And get ready to rumble, so to speak. raise up the landing gear, which lowers the front wings. So, looks a bit more menacing that way. Just a bit. Let's see if I can avoid hitting an asteroid while I look up an MRT contract, because once again, medium risk threat first, then we upgrade to high risk threat and see how it performs. Unfortunately, there we are. For a minute there, I couldn't see the medium risk threat target there. I feel better now. And the target is conveniently near the ground. Ugh. Okay, well, you know, they can't all be winners. You go to where the targets are. So first, we head to the moon of Yella, or more outside of the ring. And then we go to our target location, and if we're really, really lucky, it'll still be daylight. I'm not horribly optimistic on that. Now, I have no idea what the range on the... he is on the light side. My day approves. It's always good when I can see the ground. Ooh, contact already? Well, it's not my target, but he's flying a Freelancer Miss. Now, the MIS indicates that it is missile boat variant, which is really the only one you're going to run into. Primary target is... Cutlass Black. Sometimes fate is good to me. But we are a little high up. We're like 12 kilometers above the surface, so let's try to get a little closer. Mainly because I'd rather get my vertical movement done now, and then primarily deal with these guys on a horizontal movement. The theory being that that way I won't crash into the ground and turn into a flaming pile of rubble too quickly. May all my guesses be right.
Here you go.
Oh, that's what you think. I'm just waiting for my range indicator to show me that you're in my firing range, and then I'm going to start seeing what my guns will do to you. Not to mention those rocket pods I mentioned earlier. Well, I'm doing something. I can't see the fire, but I can certainly see the impacts. The rocket pods are effectively limited ammo, so... I have no trouble staying on target here. I'm very conscious of the fact that the ground is right there. Ooh, that was a good sign. Something exploding on his ship, and is he getting ready to crash? I couldn't be that lucky. Oh, I'm blowing parts off. Okay, gotta maneuver out of here because I'm way too close to him. The goal is to make him explode, not to explode with him. Whoa! I think his fine-tuned control is completely shot. Ooh, there he goes. I'm not getting a whole lot of visual effect from the rocket pods. which is a pity because I kind of like to be able to see what they're doing. I can see what's happening because I can notice the little yellowish explosions happening when I hit them, like that. But I'm not seeing the rockets themselves.
Shield hit.
Nope, I'm taking some hits. I haven't bothered seeing what the number 3 target is like. Language! That's how you know you're doing well. That said, he's still remarkably well intact.
Target has been destroyed.
Oh, the sound of target destroyed. That leaves our last target, which is that freelancer. Oh, right, I did see what he was. It's easy to lose track sometimes. Yeah, while they're missile boats, they do have a fair amount of their own weaponry, so don't get so lost in the fact that they fire missiles that you forget that they've got some pretty good turrets too. This guy's flying way too low. Let's see if I can get an attack on the underside.
Shield hit.
Having a hard time keeping target on him because, ooh, yeah, he just made the painful mistake of bouncing on the ground nose first. That's the kind of thing I was trying to avoid have happen to me. So, Mustang Delta did remarkably well on the MRT. But how will it do on the HRT? How will it act when we upgrade from medium to high-risk targets? Kinda want to find out. And this guy is on Daymar. So we're going to get away from yellow for this one. Now, I only have 16 more rounds in my rocket pods, so that's a potential issue.
Quantum travel engaged.
So what I'm going to do is I forgot to add some more power to my weapons. So we're going to add a little bit more power to the weapons so they'll recharge a little faster, fire a little faster, hit a little harder. And hopefully that'll make up for any lack of DPS from the rocket pods.
Quantum travel complete.
It sounds good in theory, doesn't it? Now, I might also get lucky because maybe, just maybe, they're on the lighted side. Well, no, they're probably not on the lighted side because if they were on the lighted side, my quantum marker would have dashes there
Quantum travel.
because that would indicate he was on the below the horizon, not on the other side of the horizon. That's the words I'm looking for. And he's not, so it's going to be another nighttime fight, which is rough.
Quantum travel complete. Contact.
Contact already, huh? Vanguard Warden. Well, okay, I have no missiles on here. I'm not horribly surprised. I have the rocket pods after all. I was just kind of hoping I might be able to get a first strike capability on here, and well, you know, sometimes things just don't work the way you want them to. Boy, do I know that feeling. I'm gonna crank up the acceleration a bit. I don't feel like waiting too long to get in closer range. 8 kilometers, 7, 6. We'll drop speed. Oh, those are a lot of missiles heading my way. Thank God for countermeasures. we haven't done a whole lot to the guy, unfortunately. It seems that he's a little... well, he's a Vanguard Ward. He's a heavy fighter. These guys are more durable. Trying to get those rocket pods into the action here, but I'm down to 11. But that's okay. It was sufficient. Warden down. And now it's basically batting cleanup for his buddies. Avenger, Stalker probably. Another Aegis design, so they're respectable. Ah, satisfaction. Interceptor. Origin M50. Fast, but not exactly durable. If I can get some hits on him, he'll go. The problem is getting those hits on him. But sometimes things work out. And finally, a second Stalker. Let's finish the job on him. Yeah, I'm running out of ammo on this rocket pods, but it no longer matters. So Mustang Delta did one hell of a job taking down high-risk threat targets. No, Grim Hex. Grim Hex is where I need to go. Go to the grimmiest of hexes. So thus far, it seems that the Mustang Delta is the ace of the light fighters that we have gone with today. But, as Yoda once told Luke, or actually he didn't tell Luke, he told Obi-Wan Kenobi, there is another. And we do have another ship to fly. So, step one, off to the Grim Hex station.
Quantum travel engaged. Quantum travel complete.
And Quantum Drive just kicked itself on randomly. One day they'll fix that bug. One day. Someday. But obviously, not today. Why, yes, I will be happy to visit again. Because my stuff is here. I should probably slow down. Okay, on the wrong side up. There we go. Sometimes it's a little tricky to determine which way is up. Now, admittedly, it's all relative when you're in space, but in this case, I want to be relative to the space station. Oh yeah, it would help if I put the landing gear down, wouldn't it?
Landing gear engaged.
Yeah, that was not too embarrassing.
Systems disabled.
So we will bid a fond farewell to Mustang Delta. You know, I didn't really give a whole lot of props to the Mustang series of ships, but I think I'm going to give the props to the Delta there. Because it did a reasonably good job on kicking butt. So let's store the Mustang. I do not believe that will be the last time I fly the Mustang at some point. And look at the vital stats of the last light fighter on today's experience. And it's a fighter that is close to my heart, or it would be if it was actually here. Where the heck did it go? I know I called that thing up. Did I not claim that ship? Oh. Yeah, that explains it. I left it at Orison. Okay. Okay, fine. We'll take the Mustang out again. My bad on that one. I really thought I'd pulled it to Grim Hex, but apparently I felt that if it was in the same star system, I would be okay. It was an honest mistake. I make those sometimes. With alarming frequency. So we'll just hop aboard and take the short hop to a different space station.
Welcome. Your journey begins now. All systems operational.
Well, while I'm here,
You are clear to launch.
I might as well refuel, rearm, repair. While I was doing that, I shall set my course to Port Olisar. Someone's got a ship out here, flying a named ship, so it looks like someone's 600I was here, and he just hopped on out. Some ships are named in the game, meaning if you've pledged for them, you can give them names. Eventually you'll be able to do that for all ships in the game, but eventually is eventually. The Origin 600I is one of those ships. It also includes the Aegis Reclaimer, the Aegis Hammerhead, the Origin 890 Jump, and, as a slightly off-kilter choice, the Crusader Industries Mercury Star Runner.
Quantum travel complete.
Hopefully someday they'll get around to getting the other ships named. Hitting server lag. Believe that'd be server lag and not a 30k server crash. Still waiting to be able to move my ship around. There we go. And aim ourselves at Olisar. You know, the place we were supposed to drop off out of Quantum right away, but
Quantum travel.
like I said, bugs! I swear, one day I'm going to put a graphic on my streams that has a bunch of rushing arachnoids from the Starship Troopers movie rushing across the screen here. Of course, that would probably get me DMCA struck, but it might be worth it. Give myself a landing pad.
Please proceed to assigned landing bay.
Hopefully the landing bay will spawn in. Looks like they did, but I will believe it when I see it. And I do see it.
Landing gear engaged.
So we'll just kind of mosey on up to that landing pad. That was a little too close. Set her down.
Engine systems disabled.
Landing complete. Have a pleasant stay.
The existence of landing pads, incidentally, is the primary reason why I don't turn off the power on my ships when I get out of them. If you turn off the power to the ships, the shields go down. If the shields are down, that means anyone who decides to be clever with their weapons in around a space station can blow it up. Now, admittedly, they're size 1 shields. You can't expect much out of them. It's the principle of the thing. So now we're going to store those ships, well, that ship. And now we're going to look at the Anvil Arrow vital statistics. Now, fair warning, I may have changed up the weapons on here. I'm not 100% sure. Panther repeaters, Bulldog repeaters. I think I've swapped out the default weapons on here, so it's likely to perform a little bit better. Because the top turret usually has ballistic weapons. But I'm not fond of ballistic weapons on light fighters, especially considering that they have an extremely limited ammo count. Hence, laser weapons. Everything on here, size 1 components. The guns, well, they're kind of size 1 too. Well, actually, 2 of the guns are size 3s. Those are the wing guns. The turret used to be able to be replaced, and you could put a single gun on top of size 2. But somewhere along the line, they decided, nope. So it is what it is. Honestly, I feel like the Arrow gets the wrong end of the Nerf stick every time they do something for light fighters. The Gladiuses get improved, and the Arrows get pounded to bits. Even though the Gladius is already somewhat better than the Arrow, they just keep hitting the Arrow. It's wrong. And it's possible that I might be a little bit biased because I like the Arrow better, but there it is. So we are going to pull out the Anvil Arrow. Zero two. Now the Arrow is, again, arguably one of the top 3 light fighters in the game. And where it exactly sits among those 3 varies wildly from patch to patch. Right now I have a feeling that it's either 2 or 3. It might be closer to 3 than 2. Still, given the number of light fighters in the game, that is still a significant number to be at. Now, first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch this to target status and this to self status because they put them on the wrong screens entirely. I will go to the weapons here and swap that out so that all my guns are in the same weapons group. 1 mouse button. And for the last one, we will just... we'll put it in communications. Alright, here we go. I'm a big fan of the design of the Arrow. I mean, just look at it. It is a great ship design. If you want to think what would be a good starfighter look, this is a good starfighter look.
Thank you.
Now, with the previous ships, I've started with an MRT and then gone to HRT. However, we are going to go straight to HRT on this because I am familiar with how good this ship is. And I don't feel any need to try out the medium risk threats when I know it's capable of tearing apart the high risk guys. So we're not even going to bother with preliminaries. We're just going to go right to the entertainment. Off to the moon of Yella. And really, is it that big a surprise that all the bounty targets tend to be around Yella? Hive of Scum and Villainy, Grim Hex, Yella. It writes itself. Honestly, it's harder to find folks around the Hurston area. They spread all over the various moons and the planet. But in Crusader, you will usually find them at Yella. And jump. Okay, Wilfred. Over 30 kilometers away. We're going to erase that distance quickly. What is our contestant flying? Well, it can't be anything too big because he is flying a Valkyrie. Well, we've gone to the big time on this one. Although oddly his marker hasn't updated. Did they bring that bug back? There we go. It was a little slow, but he still got there in the end. Is he on the other side of that rock? He's on the other side. Well, maybe he's not. No, he is not on the wrong side of that rock. He is at the right side of that rock, and he is coming this way. Oh yeah, I forgot to put the power on them on weapons. That should take care of that. Now we can go back to the business of ripping him apart. Oh, someone sounds like he's having a bad day. My heart bleeds. Not as much as he's bleeding, but you know. Like I said, top 3. The Talon might be slightly better. The Gladius is probably a bit better. But I still love flying the Arrow because it does what it does and it does it well. Oh, looks like I've got another. Looks like I've got another fighter here that I seem to not be able to target. That's going to be inconvenient.
Target destroyed.
Now, where did he go? I don't know if I'm going to bother engaging him because, to be honest, I probably won't be able to hit him. I can't even find him. And maybe I'm mistaken. We'll do one more HRT if we can. Just to prove that that was not a fluke. I can hear something flying near me. But since I can't target the guy, trying to find him is really an exercise in futility. Now, as I've been flying all these missions against high-risk threats, I should point out that the very high-risk threats, at least at this time, are pretty similar to the high-risk threats. So the VHRTs are doable if you can do the HRTs. Ooh, Hurricane. God, I hate these guys. I've ranted about these guys before. Great armor, great shields, great weapons, great maneuverability. They have no weaknesses. Honestly, if there's a ship that would need nerfing, the Hurricane needs nerfing. In fact, it's bad enough that these guys I'm willing to chuck missiles at. And apparently I got a pretty good strike on him to start with. Let's see if I can finish the job before he becomes able to pull himself out of it.
Got something for you.
He's pulled himself out. Nuts. I was hoping to get a kill on him before he started to... Well, it doesn't look like he's got great control. I mean, you see, I'm just hitting this guy, and he's still kicking. Now, admittedly, they're listed as a heavy fighter, but they shouldn't be as maneuverable as they are. I can live with the armor. I can live with the weaponry. What bugs me is the maneuverability. Oh, decent crazy there. And I am taking hits. Of course, so is this guy, but there's three of them and one of me. Okay, Stalker, and I guess Stalkers are it. That doesn't feel right, though. Someone's firing. I have a feeling there's a Buccaneer here. Nope, an Eclipse. Not what I would have expected. Eclipses are stealth bombers. But you know, the problem with that is if you're not stealthing, then you're a target. And that is what it's all about. Alright. Let's fly it back to Port Olisar. Let's try to fly it back to Port Olisar. Why is OM4 and 6 practically right next to each other? Doesn't matter. Now will you let me go to Port Olisar? Better. Okay. It's always fun flying around the gas giant. Let's hope the quantum marker is actually where the station is. It is. Shocker, shocker. Get ourselves a landing pad. Why are they not giving me a landing pad?
Please proceed to assigned landing bay.
Landing gear deployed.
Drop velocity. Drop cruise. And land it.
Engines offline.
And down.
Landing complete. Have a pleasant stay.
And that... third personing there did not work out well, did it? Clearly that's a sign for me to get back in the station. Ouch, I stubbed my toe. Third person is definitely wonky at the moment. Maybe when I store the ship. Nope, still wonky. Well, regardless, we are at the 3 o'clock hour, and thus we are near pretty much at the end of the stream. A couple announcements again. There will be no Star Citizen stream on my channel next Saturday. It's not a holiday weekend for me, it's a working weekend for me. So, there will be nothing on my stream, on my channel for next Saturday. But the following week will be the 2-year anniversary stream. It'll be on the following Wednesday, and I will also be celebrating it on that Saturday, following Saturday, and possibly the following Tuesday. Hey, just because it's a 2-year anniversary doesn't mean I have to only go with 2 streams. So, I'd like to thank everyone for watching, whether you are watching this live on Twitch or video on demand at YouTube. I'm always happy to have folks stop by, say hello, chat with them a bit, and I certainly hope you enjoyed watching me test around with the 4 different light fighters. Again, thank you all very much. Hope to see you again next time. This is Korath Landwalker, signing off.